Jesse, thanks for joining me. Appreciate your time.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you virtually. So, big news for your campaign today. You announced the SEIU endorsement. I have been keeping a close eye on where the labor unions land because, as you know, there are a lot of candidates in this primary with you today. Make your pitch. Why is this an important moment for your campaign?
Well, listen, the entire state council of SEIU has endorsed, along with the Coalition for Social Justice, an absolutely remarkable grassroots organizing social justice organization based out of the South Coast. And listen, both in terms of values, I have worked hand in hand with CSJ and SEIU on social justice issues, on labor issues for years. In terms of political strength, we know that these are organizations with huge footprints in the district, particularly in the southern part of the district. And we know that they're organizations who know how to mobilize, who know how to turn out their voters and like-minded voters. And so I'm incredibly proud to earn this endorsement, but I also think that it's a huge signal to the progressive community, to folks who support working families, of exactly who the candidate is in this race, to your point, in a very crowded field, who has the experience and the know-how to go out there and fight and succeed on the issues that matter to working families, and to stand up to Donald Trump and his cronies in Washington.
Was there anything specific on your policy priorities? Was it just that you've worked with these folks for a long time? I know you'll just say, well, it's just because I'm the best candidate. But, as you had these conversations, there are other candidates who I'm sure made their case to SEIU. Was there anything that really stood out when they decided, yes, we're going to go with you?
Well, that's a question for SEIU and for the Coalition for Social Justice. But I'll tell you, 2 years ago, I was one of the 8 people the legislature asked to come together to negotiate paid family and medical leave in Massachusetts. And sitting on the same side of the table with me were SEIU Local 509 and the Coalition for Social Justice. And we worked together for 7 months, with friends from more conservative business groups on the other side of the table, negotiating what's now the strongest paid family and medical leave law in the country. And I will let those 2 organizations speak for themselves, but I know that there's no one else in this race who has rolled up their sleeves, done the work, stood shoulder to shoulder with these remarkable, powerful organizations, and come out with not just a compromise for compromise sake, but with a nation-leading piece of public policy that tackles inequality and lifts up working families.
So you and I have had this conversation before, but you and all your rivals are from that tippy-top piece of the fourth up outside of Boston. And obviously there's a lot of votes down here in my part of the district, Attleboro, Taunton, Fall River. What's your message right now to voters in the southern part of the district as they see this endorsement? And they are trying to weigh, what's the difference between these people? They all seem like, most of them seem like fairly, loyal Democrats who don't like President Trump and the rest. What would you say to them?
I'd say 2 things. One, I might have made my home as an adult in Brookline for the past 20 years, but I'm from a small farming town in rural Pennsylvania. I'm from a town of 5,000 people that's the biggest town in the county, where coal was dead and dairy was dead. And when I was a kid, there was a paper plant at the end of Main Street that lost a shift, lost another shift, and by the time I was in high school was closed. And it devastated the economy of our little area and devastated my father's small business. So, he figured out a way to make it through. And I recognize that those industries aren't the same as, textiles or fishing or jewelry, but the lived experience is the same. And so while I can never say that I am from Fall River or from Attleboro, I can absolutely say that I know what it feels like to be from a community where sometimes it seems like you've been left behind and that no one's looking in the rearview mirror to check on how you're doing. I know exactly what that feels like. I know exactly what that means for you, your friends, your neighbors, the businesses around you, the people that you care about. I'll never forget what that experience felt like growing up. And it's absolutely informing the way I campaign, and I know it will inform the way I'm a member of Congress. And frankly, I think the endorsements today speak to that. The first time I showed up in Fall River was not when I announced that I was running for Congress there on October 2nd of last year. It was working in partnership with Coalition for Social Justice. It was being a part of the Patrick administration. I have spent plenty of time in the South Coast, on the South Coast over the years, working to make sure that we're passing policies and pushing forward issues that are going to lift up the families, the businesses, the economy of the South Coast. And I think that one of the big reasons that you'll see SEIU and CSJ working so hard over these next just shy of 12 weeks is that long history of working together for the people of the South Coast of Massachusetts.
One last question for you, Jesse. I mean, you are a political veteran. You know politics. You're the candidate now, but you know the other side of the operative side of politics too. I mean,
A little bit.
I was talking to Senator Markey and Congressman Kennedy about the other night, this bizarre situation all of you candidates find yourselves in, you know, locked in rooms most of the time. I couldn't even shake their hands at a televised debate. So strange. What is your plan, or how do you get the vote out in a crowded primary with a lot of other things going on, and you're under social distancing restrictions? I mean, what's your plan about giving away trade secrets for the next 12-ish weeks, as you said?
Well, other than talking to voters, you know, through this little green dot on the top of my computer, which is what I feel like I've been doing a lot of, I'm sure you do too. You know, we are engaged in grassroots relational organizing. We're hosting virtual house parties all the time where, you know, brownie troop leaders and book club leaders and local elected officials are inviting their friends and neighbors to come learn about us. You know, it's not door knocking. It's not the same as marching in a parade or being in someone's backyard for a cookout, but we're really being creative and doing the best that we can to connect. You know, that brownie troop that I mentioned, I just did a Zoom Mamma Mia sing-along with them a few weeks ago. Nothing that will ever be released to the charts anytime soon. And that's in everyone's best interest. But, you know, we are finding new and creative ways. And as things loosen up a little bit, you know, we have been out there in community for Memorial Day events, for Black Lives Matter protests, socially distanced and safe and wearing a mask. But, you know, I'm super proud of my team for being creative and thinking through new and thoughtful ways to connect with voters. But you're right, there is no playbook for this. There's no, you know, consultant or expert I can call and say, hey, you know, Ted, how'd you win that congressional campaign during the last global pandemic? We're all building the plane as we fly. And I think we've got a pretty good plan. And certainly the endorsements today from SEIU and CSJ are a huge part of that in making sure that we come out on top on September 1st.
All right, well, we'll hope that Mamma Mia video doesn't get into the hands of opposition researchers. Jesse Mermell, thank you for your time. Thanks for talking to me.
Stay safe, Ted.